You are already enough. You matter. Your voice matters. You are so valuable. You are so loved. You are so worthy just as you are. But because you are so amazing, you get to grow. Talk about loving yourself enough to do the deep work. Loving yourself so much that you deep dive into your stories and transform them. You've survived too many storms to be bothered by raindrops. Popular is really about loving yourself first, because when you do, you glow. When you love yourself first, you have more capacity to love other people, not less. All trust is self-trust. All judgment is self-judgment. All love is self-love. Like, it all comes back down to you when you know that you are already enough. When you know how amazing you are from the inside out. It shows in your energy. It shows with every single step you take. That is the actual message behind Popular. It's be popular with yourself first, and the rest will follow.
Get ready to love everything I am. All I want to be and understand. 'Cause I won't dim my light for no one.
Welcome to Popular, the show that will finally help you be seen and heard, because it's time that you made an impact with your voice. Your voice matters. It's time for you to be seen and heard, and for you to make the difference in the world that you've always wanted to. I'm Carolee Garrison, and I'm here to interview experts on publicity, mindset, leadership, and more, so that we can all discover how we can become our most magnetic selves. At its core, Popular is about knowing your worth, owning your unique superpowers, and using your gifts to make a difference in this world. What it comes down to is that if you are looking outside of yourself to feel important, it will never be enough. This is a journey of discovering your magnetic confidence from the inside out. Welcome to Popular.
Welcome, everyone, to the Popular podcast. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited for this new rendition of my show and for the new direction that it is heading in. I'm really, really thrilled to finally be honing in on the actual essence of what I've always wanted to say. And what that is that you are already enough. You matter. Your voice matters. And what I wish I could teach everybody in the world, like what I really think would change the entire world if everybody could just know it in their core, in their soul, is that you are amazing. You are so valuable. You are so loved. You are so worthy just as you are. So I want to start this episode by talking about this dynamic, this duality that exists. And it's one of my favorite things to talk about, because there's a lot of pushback that I receive when I talk about self-worth and loving yourself as you are, because then I get people who want to tell me about how, no, you have to change and you've got to fix the things that are wrong with yourself. And then there's the whole other side of the aisle that says, no, you have to love yourself as you are. And the answer between these two dueling parties is actually that they are both right. Understanding and being able to be mature enough to hold both of these concepts in your brain at the same time, it's really actually freeing. It might feel like dissonance for a second, but it's actually the wholeness of who we are. On the one hand, we are divine beings. We are so worthy. We are so incredibly amazing, and we are light. our essence is so beautifully, incredibly whole, and we are here to do the most incredible things. You have to know at your core just how worthy you are, just how amazing you really are. But because you are so amazing, you get to grow. You get to become better day by day, step by step by step. You get to become better and better and better. We are handed opportunities every single day of our lives to grow, to expand into more. Isn't that beautiful that we have that opportunity? We're not stuck stagnant, being the same all the time. That's the beauty of this dynamic. Both are true. We don't have to fight with one side of the aisle because both get to be true. And when you really come to understand that, it changes everything. It changes the way that you see yourself, changes the way that you see everybody else, changes the way you see the whole world and everything that happens to you. Everything that comes into your experience, you see it from a different perspective. I personally was really struggling with this lately. I had a really tough week last week. We had so many car problems. And I don't just mean like, oh, something happened to our car. We thought our transmission was going out, which you don't know is like a really, really expensive fix, which you probably already know that. Most people know that. And when I came to the greater understanding that, oh, our warranty might just cover our transmission getting fixed if it breaks within the next like 3,000 miles. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that our transmission's going out now. So we drove our car an hour away, took it to the shop. Yes, our shop that our warranty is at is an hour away. So that's crazy because that's an hour each direction. That's 2 entire hours of driving. And they told us after we got a rental car for like 4 days because we were anticipating that the transmission had gone out. We did all this research and we discovered that with our kind of car, the transmissions tend to go out right around this amount of miles. They told us it was not transmission. It was actually some spark plugs, which were not covered under the very expensive warranty we had bought. By the way, we've owned this car for a year. It is not that old. We've only had it for a year. So this has been quite the frustrating situation. We rented a car for like 4 days. They were like, oh, it's just these spark plugs. And, that's going to be $500 because it's not covered under your warranty. It's only going to be a day. Now that you've already shelled out all the money for a rental car for 4 days that was supposed to be covered if your car was in the shop for the transmission. And so we were like, oh, awesome. This is great. It was frustrating. And then we made the time to go pick up the car because my son had left part of his Halloween costume in the car. So even though I had set aside time to go pick up the car, rearrange my schedule, I ended up at the very last minute making extra time to go pick up the car. An extra 2 hours out of my day, which usually I'm quite busy. So this was a whole deal. Went and picked up the car, drove it all the way back home just to realize something was wrong. Something was very wrong. It was not fixed. It was jolting and jerking and it was having some major problems. So we were going to have to drive it all the way back up. And again, another couple hours of driving and get that fixed. And it was another huge chunk of change. It was another like $500 to get that fixed. Anyways, and then also during that whole period of time, our water heater went out. And we didn't have hot water for 3 days. We were taking cold showers, plus like all of the regular daily life stuff. It was Halloween week. So we were doing trick-or-treating events and we had all of the regular school stuff and I was teaching and I was exhausted because we had the car stuff and I didn't have any cold showers. Like, I did my whole amazing Halloween makeup and then I had to come home and have a cold shower to like undo the stiff hair that was vertical and get all the old age makeup off. My point is, I got to the end of this week and I was in this amazing community that was challenging me to meditate and to go into this receiving mode and to just like be open and allowing. And I was like, I can't do it. I cannot be open and surrender because I'm so worried that that means being open to more bad things happening. And it was just this sudden realization of how afraid I was, of how filled up I was of bad things coming. It really left me in quite the funk. And it's amazing how it's in that work that we really expand. So this is why I'm telling you this, is because I am inviting you to do this too. As you begin to understand yourself better, you grow, you expand, and you become a better human because you start to realize why you do the things you do. I tried to sit in this receiving mode and I was like, I can't do it because to my brain, receiving slips really quickly into surrender. And surrender is supposed to be this amazing thing, but it keeps slipping into resignation. Ouch. I'm resigned to terrible things happening to me. And I started recognizing this pattern in my life of a beautiful, amazing thing would happen and it would be followed by terrible things. And I started to go, oh my gosh, I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again. And subconsciously, I knew that this was happening, but bringing it to the conscious level is what changes everything. That's what changes everything. And so as I was pondering on this and sitting with it and stewing with it, first of all, it was really bringing me down for like a good couple days where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't receive because I'm so afraid I'm going to receive something bad. But then I had this experience that blew my mind. And it was just totally transformative. I have a daily meditation practice. And so I sat down first thing in the morning. Well, it was after I got my son to school and I finally have my daily meditation practice, right? Sat down and I really was asking myself as I began my meditation, how do I change this story? I know what the story is. The story is I'm afraid of receiving because I'm afraid of receiving more bad things. And I don't think I can handle any more bad. I'm just filled up with bad. I can't take any more bad. I can't do it. How do I change my story? I know it's just a story. I know that there are so many perspectives available to me. How do I find another perspective? Help me find another perspective. And when you ask your brain the right question, when you give it the opportunity to find it, and when you inquire, of God, of the divine, of the universe, if you want to call it that, you'll get the answer when you're ready for it. And I'm very thankful that it was pretty fast for me. It was only like a couple days. So I sat down for my meditation and I don't even remember what the actual like guided meditation I had put on. It didn't really matter because I wasn't really listening to it. But as I like got into that meditative state, what I saw was I was climbing a ladder. And every single rung on the ladder was another struggle, was another hard thing I had been through. It was the water heater went out, hours of kid meltdown, taking the car back to the car shop. Another thing that had happened was another rung on my ladder of growth, of expansion, of learning, of becoming a greater human being. And I'd already climbed so far up this ladder that you couldn't even like see the ground anymore. I was in this gorgeous sky. Like my perspective became greater and greater and greater with every rung I was able to put on this ladder. And it actually had the effect of making me a little bit excited to put more rungs on my ladder. Whereas before I had been dreading. I'd been absolutely dreading another bad thing happening. I was able to shift that perspective and actually fathom being a little bit excited for what could be next in my life. I once heard this thing, and I'll say this as many times as I ever feel like, which is a lot of times, that my thermostat is set to chaos. And that rang so true for me because I have story after story after story of like strings of insane things like this happening. Like this last week of like the car broke and then it was not really fixed after we paid all this money, and then the water heater broke, and then like all the Halloween stuff happening at the same time, like all of the craziness, like these you can't make this up type stories, to quote my friend Amanda Farron. My life is utter chaos. And so this like thermostat is set to chaos thing, like I was like, yup, that is totally a thing. Like I have the most insane stories of like series of events. And I am so longing to change that narrative, to change that story and not live in chaos. And I think that it starts with like stop being like to not be afraid of it anymore, to stop trying to push it away. You can't change something that you are resisting. You first you change it by embracing it, by loving it, by going, you know what? Handle it. I am strong enough to weather any storm that comes at me, and I'm excited for the unknown. I'm so excited to see what happens next because I know that every next step, every next rung of that ladder is going to lift me higher in my perspective. It's going to expand my knowing as a human. It's going to make me better and better and better. So if you are surprised that this is the thing that I'm talking about on the popular podcast, well, please don't be, because this is the entire reason why I changed the name and the direction of this show, is so I could talk about this stuff. So I could talk about loving yourself enough to do the deep work. Loving yourself so much that you deep dive into your stories and transform them. Because when you are carrying around that baggage and you don't know it, when it is all subconscious, everybody else can see it. Even if they can't identify it, even if they can't put it into words, they can feel it. The people that are around you, they can sense that muddy, mucky energy coming off of you, that resistance to life. They don't have to be able to name it to feel disgusted by it. It's as you clean up your energy, as you become greater and better, and you understand how amazing you are because you can do hard things. You can climb that ladder. Every single rung on your ladder is proof of how freaking amazing and incredible of a human being you are. How many rungs are on your ladder? There's a lot on mine. And as I look back on my life, I'm like, oh, look at all that evidence. Look at all that evidence of stuff I've been through. And, before I had that experience, I would have looked back on all those. I was looking back on all those things in my life. And I was going, I don't see how those have benefited me at all. I don't see the goodness in everything hard I've been through. And which is ironic because my podcast used to be Seeking Sunshine, and it was about looking for the goodness, looking for the sunshine in all the hard things. I was still looking for it. And I've been looking for it for so long. And there's a huge difference between saying that you have found it and actually feeling it. There's a big, big difference between being able to say the reasons why something is beneficial and feeling it inside. Like one of the stories I used to tell, like, and even just, it was at the beginning of 2024. It was at the beginning of this year. It was the first 4 or 5 months of this year. I was telling this story of, oh, my husband was disabled for 10 years. And I'm flipping the script on that story, which let me just tell you, I needed to tell this story. It was a good story. It helped me so much. But I flipped the script on that story from it was a bad thing that he was disabled to it was a good thing because he was able to be home with our kids. But I didn't believe it. It didn't matter how many times I said it out loud. I didn't believe it. And that is the difference. You can say it out loud. You can find all of the evidence, all of the reasons, all of the words, but they don't make any difference until you embody them, until you know them from the inside out, until you are able to release the negativity of your past and just fully, fully embrace and embody the incredible future that lies ahead of you. And that starts with loving everything that you've been through, which is what my meditation really showed me. It showed me how every rung in my ladder, everything that I've been through, that yes, I am in many ways still clinging to, right? That's kind of what trauma does, is it clings, it seeps into your pores and it clings on for dear life. It's not like take a shower and it's gone. Like you have to scrub and scrub and scrub and it feels like it's never going to release. You have to love it. You have to see how it's been there for your good. And it's been there to expand you. It's been there to expand your horizons, to help you know life from a greater perspective. And that doesn't mean it was all for a great reason and for all the things. Like, ugh, crap just freaking happens. Like, let's not deep dive into, the cliches that happen a lot. I've heard them all. What I want you to know is that you are stronger on the other side of life. Not specific instances, but you're stronger on the other side because of you. Because of you. Because your rungs on your ladder have helped you climb to a greater height. And with that greater perspective, you're able to help other people have a greater perspective and help lift them as they put more rungs in their ladder, to help lift them to see more clearly how the things in their life are working together for their good. It is a really hard perspective shift. It is so hard. It's like the hardest work of our lives, isn't it? To see how all of the terrible things that have happened to us could possibly be working together for our greater good, especially as we can see other people, because it's helpful to know that comparison is the, death of all of these things. We look at other people and we 100% do not know their full story. So all we see is the highlight reel of their lives. And we're like, why could I not have been handed that life? Why could I not have been handed only the highlight reel of that person's life? I do that all the time. Does anyone else do that? I do that way too often, where I'm like, I can only see the lovely, pretty parts, the sparkly parts of their journey, and I'm wishing that it was mine. I feel like that was meant for me, but it wasn't, because I've been able to do so much good on the path that I am on. It comes down in so many ways to trust, to trusting ourselves, to loving ourselves, and to loving the moment that we are in, to loving the path that we've been on, the choices that we have made, for better or for worse. Understanding why we made them so that we can truly look back without regrets. I feel like that's the core of what that means to live without regrets, right? It's about going, no, I made the best decision that I knew how to make in that moment. Oh, it is really easy to look back on my life and wish that I knew what I know now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. What a difference it would have made for Carolee then. It would have made all the difference in the world if she could have known how to use her voice, how to stand in her power. She felt so limited. And yet she did the best that she could with what she knew. And because of the steps that she took, she made it here today. Loving the past versions of ourselves, I think, is one of the most difficult things that we are called to do here in this life. But it's also one of the most important things that we have to do. I wanted to share one thing that I saw the other day that just really struck me. I want to see if I can find it. It says, I just saw it and it really struck me. It says, a self-reminder. You've survived too many storms to be bothered by raindrops. You've survived too many storms to be bothered by raindrops. Perspective truly is the name of the game. And I hope that your perspective, that your lens, that you are looking at yourself and the world is rose-colored with love, with self-love. The more compassion that you can have for yourself, the more compassion you're going to be able to have for other people and for every single thing that comes into your life. It has amazed me how I've been through so many really, really ridiculously awful things. And yet over the last week, it was the raindrops that made me suddenly go, oh my gosh, I just can't handle any more bad things. What? Been through so much worse than a little bit of car trouble and the water heater going out. I'm so much stronger than that. And I already know this. But if I had been getting enough sleep, if I had been doing right by me, which really means resting more. Yes, sleep, but also giving myself the space that I needed in my week, which I guarantee you I was not doing. That is my fatal flaw, is running so fast throughout my week and not giving myself any room for peace. If I had been giving myself some more space, how much different would my reactions have been to the raindrops that were coming into my life, to the opportunity for more ladder rungs to help lift me higher? Would I have handled them better? I think I would have. I think I would have handled them so much better than I did. Popular is really about loving yourself first, because when you do, you glow. When you love yourself first, you have more capacity to love other people, not less. You have greater patience. You have greater capacity to be generous and kind and loving to everybody. One of the most life-changing phrases that I ever heard, which was from Coach Amanda, who works for Tracy Litt. She told me that all trust is self-trust. And that hit me so hard. All trust is self-trust. All judgment is self-judgment. All love is self-love. Like, it all comes back down to you. If you are being judgmental of somebody else, if you're being harsh on them, you got to turn that gaze right back onto yourself. You really have to see how you are being harsh on yourself and projecting it out on other people, because that's where it all begins. When you're being compassionate to yourself, it's so much easier to be compassionate to other people. When you're being loving with yourself, being loving to other people, it's a breeze. That's why Popular is about the inner work. We are absolutely going to talk about using your voice and being heard, but it starts with not coming from that needy energy, because that drives people away faster than anything else. That's why nobody likes salesmen, because that salesman idea, that connotation really comes with that needy, gotcha kind of energy. You don't need it when you're giving it to yourself. When you know that you are already enough. When you know how amazing you are from the inside out, it really shows. It shows in your energy. It shows with every single step you take. So I invite you to start looking for the evidence that you're already enough. Look for the evidence in your life. How can you find the ways in which you already measure up, or in which the measurements are not helpful because they're super biased in some way or another? I had this story for a really long time that the measurement was a successful life was getting into the School of Music. And then I didn't get in twice. And that meant that I was never going to be successful. And I told that story for a really long time, even after I thought I had done all the work and I had gone really deep with it. But when I started asking myself, what story am I telling? How am I telling myself that I'm not enough? How am I measuring success? What question can you answer that will change everything for you? That's what I'm inviting you to do today. Ask yourself the hard questions and then give yourself space to actually answer them. Give yourself the space to think about them, to sit with them until the answers come. And it might take some time, and that's okay. The answers will come. You'll be able to see yourself from that greater, grander perspective of love. And again, the more that you can show yourself love, the more you'll be able to show it to other people. And the more that they feel that, the more it will be returned. That is the actual message behind Popular. It's be popular with yourself first, and the rest will follow. Love you guys so much. Thank you for being here today. It means the world to me. Please share this with somebody who needs it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Popular, your key to magnetic confidence. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend, someone who needs to know how much their voice matters. For more information on booking private sessions with me, as well as my available courses, check out caroldegarrison.com. Remember, when you know your true value, you glow from the inside out. Tune in next week for another reminder of just how amazing you really are.